it is possible to rob it. These days, everything you rob it. So I think I would play a very important role in lobbying.
That's what I wanted to hear from you, saying that I will lobby my former colleagues. Back to you, Chair. Wish you well.
Okay.
Thank you. Bwana Misati, you want to ask some questions, please?
Thank you so much. Chair, Mheshimiwa Njuguna.
Yes.
Please let me take you back to where you were, because I sit as the chair of the Political Parties Liaison Committee. We have had these problems over and over again. But the disadvantage we have is that even us as political parties, we criticize IEBC when they do wrong or when we perceive that they have not been fair. In line with that, the issues of party primaries. But you see, they have the advantage of regulating the party primaries, nomination of regulation rules. They're the ones who regulate them. So, from where you sit, we have had other candidates who have come before you, and they really hate that day. Lucky you, at least you went to another party and got. There are people who hate that to their core. What do you attribute to this issue that our elections is a matter of life and death? Really, why should somebody, that process alone?
Misati?
Yes.
You know, I'm a proud product of education. All those papers you see there. And I believe exams in this country is the only way, as of merit, you get it. Yeah? Elsewhere, there is a lot of other considerations. Like now, I am giving you an example of 2013. And you see, you are saying transparency, accountability, good governance. So how are you going to deliver transparency and accountability if the process is flawed? So not that I have an answer, but you're also saying from where you sit, this is a problem that you arrived to. It's a problem, it's a headache, even from where you sit. And you see, once the problem is identified, because the IEBC is all about delivering transparency and accountability in the electoral process. Okay? And I am pushing my case that if we don't deliver transparency and accountability at party primaries, you all along condemn IEBC. Public trust starts from party primaries.
Good, I hear you.
Yes.
Now let's go to the issue of currently the Registrar of Political Parties, as regulator of the political parties, is drafting the party ideology.
Okay.
Do you think, as where we are as a country, we can be able to adopt the culture of party ideology, which maybe might be able to solve part of the problems we have in party primaries? Because you see, from where I sit, when you are campaigning, whether it's in that party primaries, if you have a T-shirt and you give a supporter, after you have left a few minutes, another person comes and gives another T-shirt, they will not say no. They will still wear it. So the issue of party ideology and the belief, where are we on it?
Do we have a party ideology in this country? Mr. Misati? If you take it that 2013, we had ODM and we had TNA. 2017, Jubilee. 2022, you have UDA, ODM, and other parties. From where I sit, these parties revolve around personalities. And so, in personalities, we have to work very hard if we have ever to deliver party ideology, the likes of Conservative Party in UK and what have you. So, once that personality is not there, then the party dies in this country. So we have to work hard to make sure that at least we develop party ideology. I hear you, but I'm also telling you, from where I sit, I don't think there's party ideology in this country, just about personalities.
The last question. We came from, before the enactment of the Political Parties Act, the political parties were being the Chesterton Societies Act. What were the main reasons why we went to the act, according to you?
Of course, Misati, an improvement from the then Societies Act. And law being dynamic, like now, there are challenges IEBC is facing, there are challenges that political parties are facing, and so on. So there is always a chance to revisit the law and improve on those challenges. So the reason why we moved from the Societies Act to Political Parties Act and so on was to cure the problems that we had yes. And now, from where we are saying we are not yet through, because I'm offering myself, I suffered. And I don't know what you do if you are in my position. And you know, in Gatanga, at the time, everybody, and it's very difficult to vote in everybody from a particular party and come to you and vote you from another party. It's swimming upstream. I went through a very nasty experience.
Thanks so much. I wish you will heal and get over the process, as that is the politics. Thanks so much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Fatuma Saman, please ask some questions. Thank you.
Dr. Njuguna,
Yes.
for purposes of carrying out its work, IEBC must engage stakeholders.
Yes.
And these stakeholders include government, other government organs.
Yes.
The judiciary,
Yes.
the security,
Yes.
legislature,
Yes.
the executive as well. Please share with us some insights on how you would manage these relationships if you become a commissioner at IEBC. How will you manage those relationships and ensure that IEBC also maintains its independence while doing that?
Okay. Fatuma,
Yes.
thank you, because you agree that IEBC is dependent, only subject to the law. And that's why even the commissioners have a secure term limit so that you keep to your lane. But that does not mean that you don't collaborate with other institutions like the media, parliament, judiciary, political parties, NGOs, and so on, particularly on certain issues. And you see, engagement can mean public participation, which is one of the core values in Article 10 on national values and principles. So it is important to engage these bodies because they will assist you achieve your mandate. Like we agree, as we are talking, there's serious public deficit on trust on IEBC, whether true or not. And how else can you be able to deal with this public deficit on trust unless you engage community leaders, religious churches, and so on, NGOs, and such institutions, our youth at the universities, and so on. Because there's a lot of apathy on the youth on matters of voting and so on, those marginalized areas. So it is very important that from where I sit, I appreciate what engagement with all those stakeholders, what they can be able to deliver in terms of IEBC fulfilling its mandate.
In this engagement, what is the main principle? What is the key principle? When you are in an engagement that does not compromise your independence as an institution, but is also helpful and supportive of the work that you are doing. What is the key principle?
This is public engagement, public education.
Now we are specific to the state actors, yeah? These state organs.
You are appreciating that there is what parliament can deliver. You are appreciating that there is what judiciary can deliver. You are appreciating there is what NGOs can deliver. So it's good to appreciate that all these institutions that you are going to engage, there is something they can deliver in terms of your assisting you achieve your mandate. Yes.
Does openness support that?
Yes.
The principle of
Transparency.
openness and transparency?
Transparency, accountability. Yeah, it's very, very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Invite Nicodemus Bore, please. Bore.
Mheshimiwa,
Yes.
have previously served as a member of parliament for Gatanga.
Yes.
And also you have mentioned in your previous engagement with our panelists that among the problems IEBC is facing is public trust.
Yes.
So given a chance as a member of the commission, with this in your hindsight, what will you do to ensure that Kenyans trust the election results being conducted by your commission?
I've been thinking about public trust. And I've been thinking about IEBC. And my honest opinion, Nicodemus, is that there's a lot that our IEBC has achieved in terms of delivering transparency and accountability, and even the institution of IEBC. It's not where we were in 2013. Yeah? Even delivering the technology, equipment, and so on. Now we can talk about biometric result transmission and so on. There's a lot that we have achieved. Even as we condemn IEBC, it's very important that we appreciate. Yeah? And perhaps this public trust or trust deficit could be perhaps nothing much has been done on voter education, where everybody appreciates why you need free and fair elections, why you need to participate, particularly among the youth, because I have a problem with the youth. And my problem with the youth, Nicodemus, is perhaps the people who don't vote are the young who are educated, have left university, have left institutions. It's not the normal youth in the rural areas. And how come they don't vote? Perhaps they feel that we are not going to change anything. There's unemployment, there are all those things. So, but they need to know, if you don't encourage transparency and accountability in matters of governance, you are also a let down to enhancement of democracy. So it is very, very important that, Nicodemus, that IEBC is involved in voter education through social media, through mainstream media, through other forums like print media, churches, schools, and so on, like those far areas, marginalized areas, even come up with mobile kind of communication so that we are able to reach out to those people who might not even know what is happening. We have a duty as IEBC, and it can be done.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa, and all the best.
Okay.
Okay, I invite Professor Adam Solo to ask you some questions, please.
Mheshimiwa,
Yes, yes, please.
I've seen a very frustrated Mheshimiwa.
Okay.
And what has perturbed me, even as you express your frustration, is the lack of clarity of what solution you'll be bringing.
Okay.
I say that, I'm not sure if it is Ambassador Koki who asked you, that you suffered the fate you suffered in 2013, and by the grace of your character that your constituents saw in you, they still made you a member of parliament.
Yes.
And you went to the institution that makes laws and policies. Yet you didn't use that opportunity to make laws and policies that would protect people who have undergone the same thing that you have gone. She kept on looking for why. I didn't hear you really explain what attempts you made while in parliament to redress the situation, which 12 years later is still very painful to you. Any attempts you made in parliament and the majority had their way and you had your say, for example? Did did you make any? Did you caucus? Because I can also see you are the chairman of the former
Members of Parliament.
members of parliament, which means you have a forum in which you deliberate over these issues
On welfare.
or on welfare.
It's just welfare. What happens? It's like we are old boys and old girls of Parliament.
Okay,
Yeah?
and let's leave that aside. Here you are. You have made it to parliament against the odds of what, in your opinion, the way I've heard you, needs curing. And you are in the law-making institution, the only lawmaking institution.
Okay.
What did you do to redress that?
Professor Aro, first of all, I would like to say this is a good forum for me to express how I feel. And perhaps it's a good institution if I ever get the chance to address the mischief. So all is not lost. And I would like to tell you, Professor, that I'm not bitter as such. In fact, I train our former members because they all have most of them have a very bad heading. It's good you prepare alternative A, B, C, and D. So I'm back to my private practice, my consultancy, and so on, and life continues. In 2015, there was an attempt to force us into Jubilee at the time. And I was very vocal myself because Article 4 of the Constitution is Kenya is a multi-party democracy. And the framers of the Constitution were very clear why Kenya is a multi-party democracy. So they want to lump you together. So I said no, and perhaps that costed me my 2017, because I was seen like a hard nut to crack. And since I told you there's no party ideology, so they want to put everybody together and you sing their song, and so I refuse to sing. That's a kind of protest, and so on. So, as at now, yes, Professor, from where you sit, you might see one or two misgivings, but if I'll get this chance, this is a very good forum where I can be able to help institute some of those reforms so that it will be at everybody's comfort.
Thank you very much. Again, when you talked of your friend, you talked of the call which came.
Yes.
And you gave in to the call. And you are asked that where you intend to go, where you want this panel to take you. Those calls are even heavier. And I heard your answer was that in IEBC, I have the cloth of the Constitution, which gives me independence. Let's for a minute assume that you will live by that word of independence. And you find that out in that, this is hypothetical.
Yes.
You find that among the commissioners and the chair, the calls are coming, and it's only Mheshimiwa Humphrey who are stuck to the independence, and the rest, just like you cringed under the call which came, the rest cringed, and you remain alone, and there's quorum and everything. How will you deal with that?
Professor, you I think you picked on, but let me say this.
Yes.
This panel, you have a solemn duty to uphold free and fair elections. And I believe you come up with a team that will not let down Kenyans. Yeah? Your duty, once you do that, then our duty, if you look at the Constitution, is to protect the sovereign. And at all times, we are doing a public duty.
Thank you very much. And my last question. You are in IEBC. Sales sticking by how you will handle threats or undue influence. What would you do if you are pressured or threatened to amend party lists after the prescribed period? Because we know it has happened before.
Mine as a commissioner is a solemn duty to the people of Kenya. And you see, my tenure is protected as per the constitution. Unless through other things like gross misconduct or contravention of chapter 6 of the constitution and so on, my tenure is protected. So for me, as I take oath, if ever I am given a chance, I'm taking an oath to protect the constitution, the rule of law, as far as free and fair elections are concerned. So there's no way I'm going to give in to political manipulation or any other pressure from. And you always try, because you must engage them. But let them know from where you are coming from. If these people who want people employed, and let them know whatever where you are operating, where you are operating, and remain faithful. Your duty is to the people of Kenya, the 50 plus million people. And to be very bad if you betray that trust. Professor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which means the term of a member of parliament protected?
Yeah, come again?
Is the tenure of an MP protected?
5 years. It's protected by there's a recall clause. There's a recall clause, which is very difficult to implement because you must get 30% voters to. It is there, but it's very, very difficult. Unlike perhaps Senate, where I have seen a lot of political maneuvers and so on, but I've never seen an MP being recalled. But the process is there, but it's very cumbersome.
Thank you. Professor?
Mheshimiwa, this is where we go to the general and where is within your domain, and I've seen you really quoting the Constitution on particular issues. What is the total number of special interest seats in the Senate?
Top up.
What is the total number of special interest seats in the Senate? In other words, the senators who sit there outside the 47 who are elected from the counties directly.
If I'm not wrong, you have 16. Then you have 2 on disability. And then you have 2 on youth. So that will be 16, 18, 20.
Thank you. My last question, which is historical, again, based on your interest in politics. When did Kenya become a one-party state by law, and what necessitated the decision?
1982, if I correct my memory properly.
Just go ahead.
What necessitated it? Of course, the control. Before that, all along, it was, you could have parties and so on. But 1982, if I correct my memory well, then that is it, a one-party state. A one-party state, Kano, at the time. Before the whole thing was repealed 1992.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Njuguna. It's been a great pleasure talking to you and just understanding where you are in terms of your interest to become a commissioner. And we have learned a lot actually from your experience. I don't know whether you have any question or comment to make to this panel.
Chair, I can only appreciate you and tell you that you have a solemn duty. Even as you sit here, I know Kenyans are watching, and perhaps what the IEBC will be, you depend on what you're going to come up with. So I happen to be one of those people. I will not let Kenyans down. I'm going to work very hard and make sure that there is free and fair elections and address issues of public trust deficit And I think there's a lot that IEBC has achieved, but perhaps most of it has not come to the public domain. So, but if I get a chance, I'll do my best.
Thank you very much for the promise, and we wish you well. Do pick your certificates at the door, and the notebook is yours. You can pick it, and the pen. Blessings to you. Wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I always hear about Professor Alo. I've never met you. It's only that, unfortunately, I'm meeting you when you are greeting me. And Kokimori. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, let's get the next candidate, please. Welcome, Madam Joy Mdivo.
Sana Chairman.
Thank you. You have been here before, so you might remember the names of these members of the panel.
I do.
But I'll give them just the pleasure to introduce themselves once again. Please, FCPA.
Thank you, Chair. Joy, karibu tena.
Asante sana.
Bado ni Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa chopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Joy. Caroline Kituko, a member of the panel.
Asante.
Karibu tena, Adam Solo, member of the selection panel.
Thank you, Prof.
Good afternoon, Joy.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nicodemus Bore. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Hi, Joyce.
Hello.
Welcome back, Fatuma Ali Saman.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Wakili.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Karibu tena.
Asante.
When you came, you were coming for chair, and now you are coming for member.
Yes, ma'am.
So I will introduce myself as for member. So my name is still Kokimuli Grinyo, and I am a member of the panel. Karibu.
Asante.
Good evening, Joy.
Good evening.
My name is Evans Misati, a member of this selection panel. Last time I didn't say that I was choosing this panel through the Political Parties Liaison Committee. just in case for your information. Thanks so
Asante.
much.
Okay, and I'm Nelson Makanda. Like last time, to say that I know you. And Joy serves on the Governing Council of the Africa International University, where I serve as Vice Chancellor. But this will not compromise this interaction. Just again, introduce yourself, because there will be people watching now who may not have had the privilege of meeting you when you came here before. So do your best, again, introduce yourself and your profile, and now why you think you can do better as a member of the commission. Last time it was chair.
Yes.
Yes, please do so. And if you are a member of any professional society, mention that. And if you have any honors, also do raise it. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Chairman. My name is Joy Brenda Masinde. My married name is Joy Brenda Mdivo, which is what I more commonly refer to myself as, Joy Mdivo. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I have been an advocate for the last 23 years. And I have been, as an advocate, I have had occasion to serve this nation as a magistrate, which I did for 6 years, after which I resigned from the magistracy and I joined the civil society, where I have been an active member of the civil society working in human rights defense, as well as in civic engagement, primarily with the church. I am also a member of the Institute of Certified Public Secretaries, a member of good standing, I must add. And I also am a member of the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum. Those are the professional bodies that I belong to. I have vast experience working in government. I have vast experience as well working in civil society. Having worked in civil society in the electoral process, I have been an election observer of every single election since the year 2002. Except the year 2007 when I was serving as a magistrate. But all the other years I've been an IBC or IEBC or accredited observer, and I have been an active citizen in terms of political participation. I'm also very public-spirited, having served this country not just on the bench, but also volunteering in various forms. So I have served on the board of the Betting Control and Licensing Board. I have also served this country on various panels, selecting members into office and other volunteer positions. And I currently serve as the chairman of the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. And I think in a nutshell, that is Joy Mdivo, Joy Masinde Mdivo.
Okay, I want to ask Madam Caro to ask you some questions, please. Caro.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Mdivo, welcome once again. Let's speak about the 2022 presidential petition. The court made serious observations or some observations about some failures of the IBC and made recommendations on ways to improve some of those challenges the court identified. Could you explain to us at least 4 of those areas the court picked and recommended?
No. I'm trying to differentiate my petitions in my head. The 2022 one is that's the most recent one. Unfortunately, I do not think because I do not want to hazard a guess. Being an advocate, you either know your stuff very well or you do not.
Right, let's move on to another area.
Yes.
Thank you for that, for not. So the accuracy of the voters register.
Say that again?
The accuracy of the voters register.
Yes.
A complete and accurate register of voters is necessary. As a component, is a necessary component for credible elections.
Yes.
What are some of those mechanisms that IBC can put in place to assess the completeness and accuracy of the register of voters?
Okay, right now we have a biometric system of registering our voters. And the biometric system is important because one of the problems we have had with our voter register in the past is the issue of having people on the register who are either deceased or no longer in the territory or not available to vote. So biometric registration is one of the ways that you can have a more accurate register. So I remember, for example, before the last general election, the IEBC actually called people to step forward and verify their details. Now, when you come forward and you verify your details, then we're able to know whether you're still alive, you're still in the territory, you're still who you say you are, and be able to verify the accuracy of the register. Another way that the IEBC can verify the accuracy of the register is by cooperating with other bodies that have data for Kenyans. So the Registrar of Births and Deaths, for example, to see who is still alive or who is not. They can also cross-check with the ministry responsible for immigration to be able to know if there are any Kenyans who have emigrated or who are not in the territory. And they can also liaise with the member, in fact, just direct interaction with the members of the public so that you ask people to come again and register afresh. Now, because our voter register has been around for a really long time, maybe the best option for the IEBC might be just to do a fresh voter registration exercise, because I think we've had the same register since 2012, if I'm not wrong. And so trying to verify information that is over 10 years old might be more problematic than asking voters to register afresh and having a cleaned up register off the bat.
Okay, so how can IBC involve the people of Kenya in the verification process to ascertain the accuracy of the register?
The IEBC has offices in every single constituency. So with the 290 different offices, Kenyans can physically visit the IEBC and verify their details. Another way is using technology. So for example, these days you tell people if you send your information to code this. So for example, the registrar of political parties, if you want to know whether you belong to a political party, send your ID number to this code and it's able to give back your details. So you can ask Kenyans to also reconfirm that the details that are captured are the accurate details. So I think these are some of the ways you can involve Kenyans in verifying the accuracy of the voter register.
Okay, thank you so much. I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Asante.
Thank you. I want to ask Madam Koki to ask you some questions. Koki, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Wakili, the last few days we have been interacting with candidates, and even when you are here, we spoke extensively about trust deficit and lack of confidence in both the IEBC as an institution and also the commissioners who go there. It is the interest of this panel, and it is our quest to have commissioners or members of the commission who will inspire confidence. They will enhance trust in the organization. I want you to tell the panel and Kenyans who are watching you 4 distinct reasons why the key stakeholders in the elections, i.e. candidates, politicians, and even voters themselves, do not trust the IEBC and the commissioners who go there, and do not have confidence in the IEBC and the commissioners who serve in the institution. Just list 4, and then I will ask you a follow-up question.
Okay. First and foremost, I think it's the fact that the players in the field are very heavily involved in the process of constituting the IEBC. And that always lends itself to look like people are putting their people inside to look out for them when the game finally starts. So I think a heavy involvement of the political parties in the process makes for some trust deficit. Secondly, the issue of corruption. Kenyans feel that everyone has a price, everyone has a ticket. And so that also makes people think, you know what, if somebody goes there and they look like they're financially vulnerable, maybe they'll get compromised. Another thing is what I would call similar fact evidence. Once bitten, twice shy. People have been treated to stuffed ballot papers, vifaranga via computer, and other things that have made Kenyans imagine that the process is skewed before it even begins. And I think something else that creates a trust deficit is just the fact of sometimes some results are very unexpected, that they look incredible, and so you find less and less people wanting to even front themselves. So the people who avail themselves to go and run sometimes, we know them, they come from our community, they may not be the best of the bunch, and so it might also lead to a trust deficit.
Thank you very much. What is your view about those points you have made?
First and foremost, I do agree that when you have the player speaking the referee, sometimes it's difficult for you to divorce the notion that the process is not free and fair. However, on the other hand, what is running this country is the rule of law. We have the law, we have the constitution, we have systems and procedures in place. With that in place, it doesn't matter who you put there, because the procedure should take care of any eventualities. And I think that is something Kenyans, that's why I talked last time of transparency end to end, that Kenyans need to understand how is it done so that you see whether there's really possibility of any interference. Another thing, I think we need to make our elections, to demystify our elections. Many people imagine that the process was determined before it started. Now, this is something of public and civic education. Kenyans need to understand how people are selected, how the technology is employed. If you understand how the process happens end to end, forget about even scrutinizing the process itself. Let's say there's an election, but you even understand the mechanicals behind an election, then you're more likely to participate because you have the confidence in the process. I think something else also Kenyans can do is to be more involved in who is becoming. So for example, a process like this, many Kenyans have put themselves forward, which is a good thing, because now people know me in the estate, in church, in where. So if they see Joy, it's somebody that they know, they identify, rather than just names of, sometimes they call them recycled or other things that sometimes it does not inspire confidence. So even stepping forward by members of the public into some of these spaces and offering yourself is a way of also helping to boost confidence.
Thank you very much. Just say two things that you will personally do if you are successful to go to the IEBC to enhance confidence and trust in the commissioners and the institution.
First and foremost, I'm a professional of very many years. For me to have served in the judiciary, in the BCLB.
What you will do,
yes,
if you are successful.
Yes, I'm getting there. For me to have served in the judiciary, in the BCLB, in Kenya Power, and still have a reputation in this city of being somebody who's upright, no corruption scandals, no integrity issues. When I'm there, then that same standard that I've upheld in all these places where I've served is something that you can expect of me. Secondly, I'm a person who's forthright. I speak, and I speak clearly and unequivocally. If something is going wrong, I'm the type of person who will stand up and say, you know what, this is not right, this is not how it is done. And it is, I'm not beholden to a person. I'm the type of person, I only fear God. So the only thing that would stop me is, like I said, unless it has come to a place where the country is burning, basically. I'm the type of person who will blow the whistle. And this is something that Kenyans can depend on, because I am a strong individual and a strong believer in the rule of law and a strong believer in human rights defense.
Chair, if you allow me, I have one small follow-up on that, on the two answers.
Allowed.
Thank you. I am looking at you and you are forthright, you are professional. I'm assuming, of course, other people who have been at IEBC are also professional.
Yes.
And also speak.
Yes.
But that's not sufficient enough. So is there something else other than being forthright and being professional that is going to address this challenge of confidence, lack of confidence, and trust deficit at IEBC?
I think one of the things that has affected some of the commissions we have had before is also the cacophony, where you've had people speaking at each other when they're supposed to be working together. I think one of the commissions that I found was very effective was the Isaac Hassan Commission. And a hallmark of that commission is they were very cohesive. The chairman was a spokesman, the others rallied behind him. And I think if I make it on the commission, that's one thing I would endeavor to do. That the commission actually, despite what background noise you may have, you present a united front, you present a strong front, you speak unequivocally so Kenyans understand what you're saying. So it's not a matter of cacophony, because I think that also does, and that is dependent on the team players. When they're sitting around the table, you're forthright enough with each other, but when push comes to shove, you give Kenyans a ground on which they can stand. So I think that's something that I can do.
Thank you. Thank you, Wakili, and all the best. Chair, thank you for indulging me as well. Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you. I'm not sure you said anything about corruption.
I did. I indicated that people think everyone has a price. Oh, in my response,
yes,
I
yes.
did not say anything about corruption,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Corruption is such a scourge that I think needs to start with the individual. Many people who talk about corruption, somebody has said that maybe it's they do not have the opportunity to steal. Not having a price has served me well. When I was sitting on the BCLB, I've said all these places that I've worked, when you are a person who does not have a price, you're able to make strong decisions if you need to. You're able to make bold decisions if you need to, because there is nothing anybody's offering you that is going to skew how you make a decision. So I think even the people who are serving on the commission, one thing they need to put is service first and private enterprise later. Because if you have a price, then it does not matter what the law says, and what you will find a way of subverting the law. And I think that's one of the greatest tragedies we have. So if I am successful, that's one thing I can assure Kenyans. Money for me is a tool of trade, is not a be-all and end-all, and I cannot be bought.
Okay, FCPA, please. Pick up from there.
Thank you, Chair. Now, Joy, IBC, as I said earlier in this interview, has a prefix independent. And independence is a key requirement for these constitutional commissions. Article 250 and Article 251 provides for some constitutional requirements that should exist for any commission or independent office to be deemed as independent. Kindly give us some of those constitutional provisions that makes either a commission or an independent office as independent. They are provided for in Article 250, which is on composition, and Article 251, which is on removal. So what are those features that makes IEBC independent?
What makes an independent commission independent? I'm not doing too well with this list, these questions, because
Okay, what makes IEBC independent?
Yes.
From your own understanding, yes. Leave alone what is provided for in the Constitution.
First and foremost, what we are doing now, they're competitively recruited. These are members who are qualified as per whatever the law provides, and they are invited to come and they are recruited. Secondly, they come from the electorate. So we are not drawing them from the civil service or from the public service or from the executive. These are members of the public offering themselves for service.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think also what makes an independent commission independent is the law, the constitution, because it gives them that security. So if you've got a commission, for example, something that is established under...
What form of security?
One, they have security of tenure. So you'll find for most of them...
You're okay? The third one, you're all right.
Okay. So once... And this security of tenure is not for just anything, is to give them the courage to do what they need to articulate. Then the independent commissions also serve for a fixed term. So you know you've got this, between this time and this time, to accomplish what you need to accomplish, and a defined mandate.
That is still the same security of tenure? That
Yes.
one is okay.
So for example, if it is the IEBC, you know you're conducting elections. You are not the one to do any policing. You're not the one. If it's the Kenya Human Rights Commission, you have a distinct mandate that you're supposed to carry out. That maybe before was carried out by government, but now has been given to you as an independent commission.
That's fine. That's any other?
Independent commissions have commissioners as well who are appointed. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Now, Article 249,
Yes.
which is still on the same constitutional commissions,
Yes.
provides for funding of commissions and specifically provides that Parliament, and not the word Parliament, shall allocate adequate funds to enable each commission and independent office to perform its functions, and the budget shall have a separate vote. Now, that is what the Constitution says.
Yes.
But the reality on the ground is that actually it is only the House of National Assembly that appropriates. And lately, the Senate have actually said they should be involved in determining the budget for these independent offices and commissions. So could there have been a mistake in the drafting of the law by using the word Parliament? Should it have been the National Assembly? What is your comment on that?
In fact, when you talk about the issue of funding of public commissions, there's a problem with Parliament, but also the fact that even Parliament is still subjected to the processes of the National Treasury. So even if you're talking about Parliament, because you're right, Parliament is bicameral, and that's why the senators are thinking that they need to have a hand in it. For the senators, let me just deal with the Senate first. The Constitution is quite clear that their issues are mainly to deal with issues that affect the counties. And anything to do with the money bills or money issues is dealt with in the National Assembly. So maybe it's true, there should have been that distinction, because independent commissions and their budgets are basically money issues and should be dealt with at the National Assembly. But if you talk about Parliament, it's true, it's the bicameral house. So maybe the drafting was a little bit untidy. But the fact that the National Assembly is the one that determines the budget, but it's still subjected to the National Treasury that determines whether or not the funding comes forward.
What is your take, given the mandate of commissions and independent officers, looking at that clause or this particular article vis-a-vis the mandate of constitutional commissions? Could there have been an understanding that the mandate of commissions cuts across and it's more of a national issue, not really restricted to the National Assembly? And both Senate and National Assembly should have dealt with it.
The duties can have a national function, but Parliament in this particular instance, when you talk about just the funding, what they're dealing with is the funding only. But once the Independent Commission is carrying out its mandate, then that's where the excision ends. Parliament does not have supervisory authority over them. They can only oversight in terms of asking for accountability, but they cannot nickel and dime how they implement their mandate or even how they carry out their duties. And so because the extension of the determination is on what is your budget, that's why now you see the IEBC going and defending their budget. Once the budget has been allocated, then how the IEBC uses it now is away from the control of the National Assembly, unless there is an issue now that they need to query and there are someone now to come and explain themselves. When I look at the role of the Senate, because their oversight role, primarily, the Senate is a little bit of a misnomer because it's the lower house with the upper house name. They have a very narrow mandate to look after the interests of the counties. And so even if something is a national function, at the point, for example, the IEBC is doing boundary delimitation, then the Senate might have direct jurisdiction over what is happening. But when it comes to determining the budget, that is a National Assembly function. And at this point, unless something changes, all the budgets are passing through the National Assembly, and that's where it starts and stops. And the mandate cannot be extended to the Senate unless we change the Constitution, because the one envisaged as being in control of the budgets and the budget-making process is the National Assembly, and the implementer is the National Treasury.
Thank you, and I wish you well. Thank you, Chair.
Asante.
Thank you. Reverend Misati, do you want to ask some questions, please?
Thanks so much. Brenda, I
Yes,
wanted to ask you a question related to when you look at the number of votes who were rejected, the number of rejected votes in the 2022, almost 113,000. Such a number is a very big number. And how do you attribute that big number to what actions? Is it civic education? Is it further education? Or before I ask you the other.
In fact, where you started, I think, is one of the primary problems that we have, inadequate civic education. Because some of them were put in the wrong box, they were put in the marking was incorrect. So there is need for more civic education. But from the last election, you notice even the voter turnout was a bit suppressed. I think there was also a large number of protest voters who decided to spoil their votes just to indicate that there is nobody here we think is good enough to be our leader. So there was that component. There was a very huge constituency of people who went to the ballot, but they voted by protesting, and so they spoiled their ballots. I think also the issue of doing 6 elections in one day is a little bit complicated, and that aids in the confusion, because you could correctly mark your ballot papers, but when you come to inserting them, or if it is somebody who's being assisted, you find that in that confusion of trying to do 6 elections at once, then some ballots go astray.
So that is a worrying number. So
Yes.
if you are given an opportunity and you are an IEBC commissioner, what will you do to ensure that that does not happen? And you are aware that the actors, the civic actors, were not allowed to put money in civic education. I don't know whether you are aware of that.
Yes, I am.
So how would you engage the stakeholders or government agencies to ensure that that happens? Because there are those people in the rural areas who might be having such challenges.
I think one of the places I find we don't utilize enough is using ngao. So, for example, the chiefs, they have barazas every so often. This is a great place to disseminate information that is removed from the civic society. I think the concern last time was that civic society was being used to perpetrate some things that were not very well. Others were being used for campaigns, and so that's why that space was limited. We can use ngao. We can use the existing places where people naturally gather. So, for example, you see politicians trying it with burials and weddings and churches and in other places. But I think even the government can ask for an opportunity to put a desk at churches, at mosques, at schools like universities, and just engage in civic education. Then using the broadcasting means. Radio is a major, people listen to radio every single morning while they're doing their work. It's the one thing that Kenyans listen to almost incessantly. And it's a very effective way of raising, of communication. Then I think just practical things. So for example, the ballot papers, when you look at the colors, they're very pastel. They almost look the same. So if you've got a little bit of visual impairment or some color blindness, sometimes you're not able to distinguish them. Maybe have bolder colored, differentiated paper so that people can see this one is really for women rep or this one is, so the colors are distinct. Because there's some of those small nuances where you might think, oh, somebody can see this is blue and this is green, but for them it's the same color.
Thanks so much. So the last follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
What could you do to bridge the gap? Because as we talk now, the number of registered members in the political parties, they are more than the number of registered voters. What will you do to ensure that that happens, in view of the fact that we need to bring more people to the voting bracket of the registered voters of IEBC?
One thing the IEBC does is continuous voter registration. And I think many Kenyans are not aware that you can go and register as a voter at any constituency office at any time. Many people wait for the mass registration just before the election, and by that time too many things are at play. I think something else that can be done is the government now is having a drive to urge Kenyans to take their IDs. We talked about trying to match the records at the registrar of persons together with the IEBC register and see. Maybe an amendment of the law could make it such that registration as a voter is automatic with your ID as your identifier and not needing a separate new register for somebody to be able to exercise their right.
Thanks so much. And you think that should be the referendum question if it happens?
And it would solve many problems.
Thanks so much. I wish you well, Joy.
Asante.
Okay, I want to invite Fatuma, someone to ask some questions, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Joy,
Yes, ma'am.
would you kindly share with us some insights on the IEBC may receive support from either state actors or the state itself. So how would you manage such a support? How would you evaluate and manage that support?
Support in terms of the finances?
Financial support, or maybe any other kind of support.
From non-state actors?
Yes, non-state actors and state actors as well. So through collaboration, through partnerships, through funding. So how would you evaluate and how would you manage such support?
Let me start with the non-state actors, because that is somewhere I have participated in directly. Most of the non-state actors support various activities and have got very strict budget lines and budget deadlines and reporting mechanisms on how their funds are used. So most of the funds that come from non-state actors are ring-fenced funds. So if it's for civic education, it's just for that and it's not available for any other use. So it's just ensuring that what the funds have been received for are spent as agreed, because for many of them, we're going to sign a grant agreement that tells you how the funds are going to be used. Now, the funds that are coming from the exchequer are the ones that I think are more open to being used where they're needed. It is prioritizing areas that need money to be spent on first, so that you do not run out of funds when something critical is coming up. So for example, the IEBC right now has got a very huge wage bill of pending bills, for example. And these are small businessmen who have supplied the IEBC and have not yet been paid. So prioritizing clearing that, for example, when there's no election, would be something that you can prioritize, because by the time the election is coming, you might need some of those people to give you services. And if you have a pending bill, that would not happen. So it's just having the priorities right, doing the first things first, so that by the time something moves from the important list to the urgent list, the financing for it is available. I think sometimes when we do things just with what is in front of us right now, time comes when something is needed and the resources for it are unavailable. So it's just consistent planning. And because the commission is working all through, like now when there's no election, there's no boundary delimitation, then you clear some of the smaller things that might spoil the budget along the way. Just keeping the books clean as much as possible.
Do you evaluate what's necessary? Where can you use it? Where will you spare so that you can get money from elsewhere?
I think one of the criticisms about the spending at the commission is, unfortunately affects my profession, is the huge costs of legal. Let me borrow a leaf from what we implemented at Kenya Power. We realized that the cost of running our own law firm within the institution is cheaper than hiring law firms to handle our work. And so we went ahead and hired over 60 advocates to be handling all our matters in-house. So with them, it's on a straight salary, and the only expense is court filing fees and other fees. That helped us manage our finances, our resources a lot better, because those resources that you don't have control over, you can't tell how much it is. That's where the trick is. So, but if it's something that I know I only need X amount to pay my advocates and all my legal matters are sorted, that can help. That's just one example, I think, of how we can manage the exchequer money.
Thank you. That's very important, because there's an agency I worked with, a government agency, that used the similar strategy, and it was very helpful. Thank you very much, and I wish you well. Back to you, Chair.
Asante.
Thank you. I come to Nicodemus Bore. Nicodemus, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Joy, you've appointed as a commissioner in the IEBC, and you have been working very closely with the political parties. How will you insulate IEBC from political actors and the pressure that comes with it?
I think IEBC does not need insulation from political actors. IEBC just needs to be firm on the rules of engagement with political actors. I think the political actors have had too much leeway or too much flexibility and say in the affairs of the IEBC. And I think just having a firm hand is something that's going to help. This has happened before. So for example, with our current registrar of political parties, she came in quite diplomacy, engages the stakeholders incessantly, but she has managed to lay down the law, and political parties are actually complying with what they need to comply with. I think the IEBC needs the same. You don't need to insulate yourself from the politicians or from political parties, but just lay down the rules of engagement and stick to the plan. And if anybody steps out of the plan, regurgitate and tell them this is what we are going to do and this is how we will do it, and re-engage at that level. Because when you allow the goalposts to keep shifting, then the relationship becomes unstable. And at the end of the day, something is bound to give. So I think just being clear, firm, and constantly engaging with the stakeholders will make that relationship easier than having, when there's a crisis is when there's engagement, and at the end, the results sometimes are not what we would expect. There's animosity and there's friction. But I think because you need the IEBC needs political parties and political parties need IEBC. There's no need for insulation from each other. There's just clear engagement, consistent engagement, and firm engagement, I think, would work better.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I want to invite Professor. Yeah,
thank you, Joy. I just want to follow from where my colleague Bore has left.
Yes, sir.
History is the best teacher, usually. Now, I just want to contextualize for you, then hear your answer. In 1997, the opposition, based on the 1992 elections, felt that the then Electoral Commission of Kenya was not independent because they had been unilaterally appointed by the president. And they started a rallying call: no reforms, no elections. To cut a long story short, it led to the inter-party parliamentary group meeting, in which 10 new commissioners nominated by the opposition were added to the 11 to make the 21 commissioners for check and balance. Come 2007, and it wasn't put into law, it was just a gentleman's agreement. Come 2007, the then regime, through the Ministry of Justice, said that that was a gentleman's agreement. It's not in law. We are appointing commissioners as per the law. You know what finally happened in this country. Now, coming to what Bore has asked you, and there are no clear parallels. I'm just contextualizing. The selection panel is holding interviews openly as part of public participation, which has been entrenched in our constitution and our laws. And out of that public participation, because it is in public domain, a section of the political class, we are all aware, we read it, they addressed a press conference, they made comments on this process. Very strong comments. Bearing in mind that history is the best teacher, and history determines the path dependence that you follow, whether you are going into a quagmire or you're following a different route to avoid that quagmire. And the law is very clear. I think I agree that as long as you're not serving in a party organ, you are eligible. But we are in a political process. And we have seen the public participation. And we have a duty as the selection panel to accomplish this job. What do you tell us? What do you tell that public and political class that have issues?
First and foremost, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And when people voice their opinion, it is part of what is constitutionally protected. And you cannot, it cannot be gainsaid how hard we have fought to be able to have that right. And so anybody who has an opinion is welcome to voice it. Now, based on the history that you have painted, and even with us just sitting here, one of the things that I think I would say to members of the public, because this was made available to all Kenyans, everybody in Kenya had a chance. If you qualified, you had a chance to participate. The fact that you have shortlisted 111 people to interview for a position of 7 commissioners tells you how many Kenyans were interested and participated in this process. Then it means, in terms of public participation, members of the public are engaged in what is going on. The issue of the perception, I have enough emotional intelligence to know I cannot control what you think or what you feel about me. But the good thing is that in Kenya, again, I am governed by the rule of law, and so are you. That is our equalizer. And as long as we have the law in place and we are following the due process and the due procedure, then you can defend what you are doing based on what the law is. And like you said, this is a panel of eminent members. They have all the information that they needed before they shortlisted the people they have shortlisted. I am sure that when the panel is done with its work, they will do an exit report. And some of those challenges that have been seen are going to be addressed. But be that as it may, because the process is not only, like they say with the law and with things, it's not just being seen, but it must also be. Then I think one of the things that I think I would say to members of the public as well is look at people's track record. Study somebody's public service. Study their life. Ask those who know about them. Because it is very easy to say, in this case, let me talk about myself, to say Joy is Ruto. It's very easy to say that. But do your homework. Because like I said, I am a Kenyan who, I belong to several societies, I belong to a church. Just do your homework. Is that statement really true? Is it fair? And if your answer is yes, then there's the legal process. There is due process on how to undo it. So let people not despair.
Thank you.
All is not lost.
Thank you. Article 88, 4 of the Constitution. 84, 88, 4H. The Commission is responsible for conducting or supervising referenda and elections to any elective body or office established by this Constitution and by any other elections as prescribed by an Act of Parliament, and in particular for, I go to H, the facilitation of the observation, monitoring, and evaluation of elections. I underline the facilitation. You have been an observer, you said, for so many years.
Mm.
Does IEBC facilitate?
They facilitate, but not financially.
But they facilitate.
But they
In
do
other words,
facilitate.
observers are not internal.
No, they're not internal.
They're external.
Yes, yes.
They facilitate monitors, yes?
Yes, election monitors, yes.
Are they from inside or from outside?
There's some from inside, there's some from outside.
No, inside IEBC. It can be inside in terms of domestic monitors, but not
international
IEBC
monitors.
monitoring itself. That's the point I'm trying to get.
I think with them they just have their staff members, but the monitors are provided from the civil society, from the political parties,
Thank
and
you.
from other players.
Therefore, it follows that even when it comes to evaluation, they should facilitate the evaluation, not do the evaluation.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Constitution is saying.
Yes, yes.
And all the 3 post-2010 constitution elections IEBC have evaluated themselves, not facilitated the evaluation. If Joy becomes a commissioner, will the commission start following the constitution so that the IEBC facilitate? And for me, that's part of the problem why all these things never get resolved. You have the problem of the register, they do an internal job, nothing. You have all these procurement things, they do an internal job, they can't condemn themselves. Would Joy convince the other commissioners?
In fact, now that you point it out, is something that I'm realizing it is true, because all the post-election analysis is what comes from the IEBC, and that is a big gap, because I've been part of the organizations that come under the umbrella body ELOG, and even as our institution, we have tried to give feedback to the IEBC after elections, and it is true. Sometimes you point out something that is glaring and it does not seem to find its way in the final report. So that is a place where I think there is room for not just improvement, like you said, it's an issue of compliance with the law. And even to your question earlier about the facilitation, you'll find most of the time the type of facilitation would be basically in civic education and accreditation. That's what they would do for you. And there are times when that accreditation has been denied, or has been given too late, or has been denied for certain areas. So you're told you can go to the polling stations, but you cannot come to the tallying center, for example. So there is room for improvement so that this flexibility is given so that the independent actors have got more room. Because I think it's true. When somebody is faced with a situation where they have to admit that they have done wrong and they have to face criticism, initially it's just self-preservation. You want to find a way of exonerating yourself, and that's not a good way to go about it, I think.
Lastly, NADCO deliberated over this matter.
Yes.
And among the recommendations, if you leave the 9 acts, that includes the IEBC Act, that includes the Election Act, that includes the Political Parties Act, was that the incoming IEBC that Joy seeks to join would facilitate the evaluation of the 2022 general elections as one of his first duties. Would Joy, as a commissioner, be willing to go by the NADCO recommendation?
The good thing with the NADCO process, it was a participatory process. We have the slight challenge of having a full entry. But I think there is benefit in learning from our past, because somebody said if you do not learn from experience, you're duty bound to repeat the mistakes of that experience was supposed to have taught you. And Kenya, we seem to be repeating this class, so there's something we're definitely not learning. So indeed, I would actually encourage that level of introspection and talking to the various actors, because having a blind spot when you're inside is something that happens to everybody. And with the benefit of now being a new commission, you can say, okay, so you're not criticizing me, so criticize the commission, then I can learn from it. And I think that would be beneficial.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Prof, do you have two final
questions?
High school questions.
Joy, your experience in the electioneering process is deep, so this should be very easy for you.
I hope so.
Other than the ballots, Kenya has at some point experimented another voting methods to electing representatives to parliament. Which method and year was the method used in Kenya's general elections?
I think, would that be the Mlolongo system?
Which year?
Which year it was used is what I'm trying to dial back. I voted in 1997, so maybe that would be the 92 elections.
5 seconds to go. 92
the 1992 elections, I think.
Okay. Let me give you a harder one, since you are
Oh, I
So
got
it's-
that one. Yeah. I wasn't sure.
I didn't say you got it, but
No, it's the
you
night.
tried.
But the Mlolongo, I think it's the Mlolongo system.
Very well. Which country or countries will host the 2027 African Cup of Nations football tournament?
AFCON.
You know AFCON, that means you're very familiar with
Okay, Kenya. I think it's the East African countries. Kenya and
East African
Tanzania.
nowadays. There's 8 countries, so all of them?
No. Kenya, Tanzania. I think Uganda as well.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Just to finish up, Joe, you didn't bring your certificates today.
I didn't.
What happened?
I was slotted to come on the 10th,
Uh-huh.
but I'd asked if there was any flexibility to be alerted so that I could come earlier because I have a work-related trip on the 10th. Now, I received a call at around about 1 p.m. today asking me if I could be here by 3. From where I was to here, I did not have enough time to double back to the office to pick up, and so I just came straight here. So I do apologize for that. But because I had requested for an earlier slot and it became available, I felt, let me honor the invitation and the effort rather than start to make excuses of, I can't come now, let me come tomorrow. And so I apologize. I am hoping that because I haven't gotten any extra certification since the last time I was here, if that would suffice, I request for grace. I did not bring the certificates today.
We apologize for ambushing you,
An ambush.
but you've done well.
I appreciated the opportunity, so thank you.
Yeah, we thought it would be nice to be flexible since you may not be around. And so we appreciate the fact that you could come and interact with us within that given short time.
Asante.
Do you have any question or any comment?
No, just to thank the panel once more for this opportunity. I was asked, why were you shortlisted twice? I guess it's because I applied twice for both positions, and I'm very keen on serving this nation. And to thank you for the opportunity to interview, not just the first time, but the second time, I do not take it for granted. So ni shukurani tu.
Thank you. Blessings to you.
Asante.
And have a wonderful evening and travel ahead. Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. The notebook is yours. You can carry it. Thank you. Asante. Atamaji. Thank you. Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate. We have come to the end of our day today. Just in case you are asking why we have 7 candidates today, that was the reason why we got a 7th candidate. And we will try to be as flexible as possible so that we accommodate all the shortlisted candidates within the time that we have. We will resume our interviews tomorrow at 8:30. Otherwise, thank you very much for making Kenyans part of this process. Blessings to you. Thank you. Do you have another person? You don't have. Thank you.